Okay, good morning. I decided it's time to share my testimony of how I became a believer. I wanted to talk about a lot of other things, but I'm kind of conflicted right now because of some things that are happening, and it feels like I want to rise up against that which is happening, but now is not the time. So I thought I'd go back because I never did give my testimony to you, the people who follow me or listen to some of these videos. And it was a supernatural awakening. What happened? It happened to me. This is my story. I was raised in a harsh environment. My both my parents drank every weekend. My dad was a raging alcoholic, meaning he was a good, fun, older guy. That's how I knew him because I was born late in his life, and when I knew him, he was old and tired and worked a lot. But he was fun at times and criminal at other times when he drank. So many people know him as a hero or a storyteller or a adventurous soul, and that's what he was. But when he drank, the dark side would come out. He was in pain, and he would people who are hurting hurt people. And most of his anger and frustration and vitriol would be targeted at my mom and me and my younger brothers, or my younger brother and my older brother who lived it through this with me, had a ringside seat for it. And even when he was sober at times, just like all of us, he would get moody and crabby and didn't have time for us. And seemed like the only time that he did have time for us was when he first had his first few drinks on Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. And then it was the best time ever. He'd get out his guitar and he would teach us songs and tell us stories and take us on these adventures in our minds. And he was an amazing storyteller and had a lot of stories to tell. Similar to me, I became like him in that way, and I honor him for that and thank him for that because I am fun and I am adventurous, and I have a lot of stories to tell because of that. And but God found me, saved me from myself and the path I was on. And now I know that I can't drink because when I drink, in the past, I became abusive and the frustration and anger and pain would come out. A lot of times at the people I love, but sometimes at strangers, to prove who I was or how tough I was. I would hurt people just because I could. I never felt bad about it. In the back of my head, I would think, if you knew what I went through, then you would understand and you would forgive me, or at least give me grace. Like, too bad for him. Look at what he's become. How sad. But yeah, my dad was fun and he was horrible at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but this both came out of him at different times. And that was what I grew up with, wondering which version of my dad I was going to experience at any given time. And it's unsettling and mind boggling and sad, the result. But God is good, and he broke that cycle so that my children didn't have to live through that. I mean, they lived through me trying to break free from all of that. So their lives were difficult too, good and bad, in their dad. And I apologize to them, each one, for what I've done to them and in front of them. And they've, I believe, forgiven me because they see the more good than bad and realize that's in them too. There's good and bad in everyone. And that's just the way it is. When we yield to Source, to the God within, good comes out. But when we forget who we are and live from our pain or repeat the cycles that we've learned or developed, it can be not so good. I just realized that I don't have my microphone hooked up right, so I'm going to stop for a second.